order to take up the final agenda item 9, adoption of the report of the Committee on Statistics. We have deliberated on a number of issues of significance for this region during the past 2 days. I note with appreciation that the cooperation of the delegations and efficient servicing by the Secretariat, we shall be able to complete all our works on schedule. Now it's my pleasure to invite our rapporteur, Mr. Ing Chuan Ko, Chief Statistician of the Singapore Department of Statistics, to present the draft report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to present the draft report of the 8th session of the Committee of Statistics. The report consists of 1. Matters brought to the attention of the Commission. 2. Organization. 3. Account of proceedings. The decisions included in this report are drafted to reflect the consensus established during the deliberations. The proceedings of our deliberations will be addressed in Section 3 of the report called Account of Proceedings and will be made available next week. Mr. Chair, I now have the honor to present to you the draft report for further consideration by this committee.
Thank you, our rapporteur, Mr. Ko. Distinguished delegates, we will now consider the draft report of the Committee on Statistics at this session. I and 2 of our vice chairs had the privilege of leading the discussions under agenda items 2 through 8. You have before you document ESCAP/CST/2022/L.2, which contains the draft decisions that resulted from our deliberations on day 1 and 2 and is recommended for adoption by the committee. Can I ask the Secretariat to show the draft text on the screen? Distinguished delegates, may I kindly note that the changes of an editorial or grammatical nature will be taken care by the Secretariat. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, draft report of the 8th session is now presented to the committee for adoption. May I now invite any comments on draft report from the floor? We will commence with section 1, matters brought to the attention of the commission. Are there any comments at this time on the section 1 of the draft report? Matters brought to the attention of the Commission. I see Russia. The distinguished delegation from the Russia, you have the floor.
Благодарю вас, господин председатель. У меня на данном этапе вопрос к вам в отношении того, как вы предлагаете работать над утверждением доклада и, в частности, тех решений, которые предусмотрены в первом разделе доклада. Мы бы хотели понять, когда нам удобнее будет сделать короткий комментарий по одному из решений. Могли бы вы прояснить мне эту ситуацию и подсказать, когда мне удобнее сделать комментарий по одному из решений? Предполагаете ли вы...
Distinguished delegate from the Russian Federation, we can have a secretariat to comment on live editing of the document on the screen. This will make the receipt.
Distinguished delegate from Russia, I believe our chair is going to go through each of the decisions one by one so that we can go through comments on each of the decisions. For the rest of the report, I believe we might go through it in bigger chunks. But for the decisions, I think we were planning to go through. Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay, so distinguished delegates, are there any comments on at this time on the section 1B, matters brought to the attention of the Commission, decision 1? I see none, so we move on to decision 2. I see none, so we move on to decision 3. I see none, so we move on to decision 4. I see none, so we move on to decision 5. Distinguished delegate from the Russian Federation, you have comment on the decision 5.
Да, спасибо, господин председатель. У нас действительно есть соображения по корректировке решений 5. Пожалуйста, привлекаю ваше внимание к английской версии текста. 3-я строчка. И для удобства предлагаемые поправки я сделаю на английском языке. So that said, the third line reads provide recommendations, which means that Bureau provide recommendations. We suggest to slightly amend this wording using exactly same text as was used in the previous draft decisions, for instance, 4 and 3. Instead of provide recommendation, the text in our vision would better read propose recommendations to that end for consideration by the committee. I repeat it again. Instead of provide recommendations, delete provide recommendations, replace with propose recommendations to that end for consideration by the committee. Per se, this is the same wording as we see in the decision, for instance, 4 and decision 3. That's first amendment we suggest. Then, could we please go to the second sentence, which reads, this could include moving towards less formal collaboration mechanisms. And here, we would suggest to put comma and insert as appropriate, comma. I repeat it again. This sentence in our vision would better read, this could include moving towards less formal collaboration mechanisms, comma, as appropriate, comma. And then we go to the end of this sentence and we propose a caveat to this sentence, reading, while bearing in mind the lead role of national statistical offices. So in its entirety, this sentence would read, this could include moving towards less formal collaboration mechanisms, comma, as appropriate, comma, that may be better suited to the complex world in which national statistical offices now operate, and that would end with, while bearing in mind the lead role of national statistical offices. While bearing in mind the lead role of national statistical offices. Full stop. So those three amendments we would like to propose for decision 5. Thank you.
So I would like to ask the Secretariat to commence with the live editing of the document on the screen. This will make the received suggestions for the text too clear to everyone. So let me read the full paragraph of the decision 5 as the committee decides that its bureau shall, with the support of the Secretariat, conduct a review of the groups and communities of practice, supporting the committee's work, and propose recommendations to streamline, consolidate, and improve those groups and communities to ensure that they continue to be fit for purpose. This could include moving towards less formal collaboration mechanisms as appropriate that may be better suited to the complex world in which national statistical offices now operate, while bearing in mind of the lead role of the national statistical offices. Particular attention should be paid to arrangements and mechanisms to support statistical offices in their efforts to meet the growing demand for climate change-related statistics and to navigate complex data governance choices. Distinguished delegate from the Russian Federation, is the recommendation on the first sentence correct from your side?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is not. I'm sorry. It's not the intention of my delegation to go for any picking, and it's just like the language thing. The phrase should read, propose recommendations to that end for consideration, not by consideration, for consideration by the committee. And maybe to save time, I would also say something about 2 other edits we suggested. As appropriate, should be in commas, both before and after the wording. Thank you.
Are there any other comments on this draft decision 5? while we wait for the editorial changes of the Secretariat.
Our apologies, there seems to be a delay on what you're seeing on the screen. These changes have been implemented, so let's just wait for that to appear on the screen.
So are there any other comments on the draft decision 5? If there's no other comments, I would like to ask the Secretariat to clean up the text. If there's no other comments, then we move on to decision 6 for comments. Are there any comments on the decision 6? If there are no comments, then may I then propose that we adopt the draft decisions as contained in the section 1 of the document. Section 1 of the document is ESCAP/CST/2022/L.2. Are there any comments? I see none. So I see consensus. So we move on to section 2, organization. May I now invite any comments on draft report from the floor on the section 2, organization? Are there any delegates who would like to make any comments on the section 2? If there are no comments, then we will move on to section 3. As mentioned, section 3, account of proceeding will be sent to the member states within a week after the conclusion of committee for factual corrections. Document ESCAP/CST/L.2 is adopted. This concludes the consideration of the draft report. Distinguished delegates, we now move to the closing session of the 8th session of the Committee on Statistics. Before I close this 8th session, I would like to ask Ms. Rachel Bevan, Director, Statistics Division, ESCAP, to deliver her concluding remarks. Ms. Rachel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, allow me to express the ESCAP Secretariat's deep appreciation to you, the Chair, Mr. Batdavar Batmunk, Chairperson of the National Statistics Office of Mongolia, for guiding us so ably through this session, and to the other Bureau members as well for your assistance. We would also like to thank the outgoing Chair, Mr. Gigita Todradze, Executive Director of National Statistics Office of Georgia, and the retiring Bureau members from Philippines and Sri Lanka for all your hard work over the last few years. Indeed, the last few years have been difficult for everyone, and we truly appreciate the hard work and dedication of all the Bureau members who have helped us through this difficult period. We would also like to thank the newly elected Bureau members from Singapore, Thailand and Uzbekistan. As you have seen, the work of the Bureau does not end after the committee session, and we look forward to working closely with the new Bureau until our next committee session planned for 2024. We are grateful to the many participants from countries, UN Secretariat, UN funds, programs and agencies, and other development partners and sub-regional organizations for taking the time to actively participate, helping us not only to celebrate the success of the last 2 years, but also giving us clear direction for the next 2 years. And it's been my pleasure to be able to see so many of you here in person. And for the participants online, we hope that we will get a chance to meet you in person very soon as well. To my dear colleagues in the Secretariat, thank you for all the hard work, the preparations, and for all of the work you've done in successfully conducting this 3-day hybrid session. This committee has again been held in the shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic and at a time when the world faces multiple challenges, such as increased climate risks and rising food and fuel prices. These challenges will make it even more difficult for us to achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Indeed, at the current rate of progress, we estimate we will not achieve this until 2065. However, the vision and the ambition of the 2030 Agenda is even more critical and relevant today than it was in 2030. And we also know that statistics can play a key role in not just measuring our progress, but also in helping us to achieve the 2030 Agenda. And while the availability of data to measure the Sustainable Development Goals has increased, indeed, since 2017, the number of indicators with data has doubled. However, this is still not enough. Without timely, accurate, granular, relevant, and accessible statistics, our progress or lack of progress is unknown. And whilst we can see the scale of the challenge is huge, we also know that as a statistical community, we can play a vital role in helping to meet this challenge. We've seen the critical role statisticians have played in the COVID-19 pandemic, which put a spotlight on the need for real-time granular data. We've also seen the important role that innovation, creativity, and partnerships can play as countries have embraced new data sources and have developed new methodologies. We've seen many examples of this innovation and creativity in our Asia Pacific Stats Cafes, which many of you have attended and contributed to. This week, we've also had more opportunities to share our lessons and experiences, both through the committee sessions and through the different side events and the expert dialogues. It's only through working together in partnership that we will be able to meet the 2030 Agenda and I'm grateful that this week has provided many opportunities for us to build on existing partnerships as well as to start new partnerships. And one of the partnerships we saw this week was with the Thai National Statistical Office, who so graciously allowed many of the in-person participants to visit and to learn more about their work. And we would like to thank them for this opportunity. As we've discussed over the last few days, our statistical systems will need to continue to evolve to meet the challenges we face. This week has given us an opportunity to share experiences on a range of data governance issues which are needed to support the generation and use of data in a safe, ethical and secure way, while also delivering value equitably. And we will do our best to help you continue these discussions, to share and to learn from each other, and to combine forces through regional solutions and regional actions. And let me finish by reaffirming our absolute commitment to continue to support the national statistical systems. We appreciate your ownership of this committee and its work, and we take great pride at the UN ESCAP Secretariat in working with you on delivering the ever-growing agenda of statistics for development. Thank you very much for your attention, and back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rachel, for your concluding remarks. The Secretariat has prepared a video showing the highlights from this week. Can the Secretariat please share the video on the screen? Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Secretary. Thank you to Secretariat for reminding us our busy and interesting week. Before we adjourn the session, I would like to thank you, Ms. Rachel Bevan, and your staff for the effective servicing of the Committee on Statistics. And I would also like to recognize all those from the Secretariat who worked behind the scenes to make this session a productive and a memorable one. For that, we would like to give another round of big applause. Distinguished delegates, with that, I thank all the delegations for their participation and look forward to meeting you again at the 9th session of the Committee on Statistics in 2024. I hereby declare the 8th session of the committee adjourned.